Hey everybody, welcome to my tutorial of how to create an alternate movie poster kind of with a vintage feel. The original assignment was to do a 50s poster, and I thought I would one up that by making it a more applicable type of creation. So this is something that you can do with modern movies to make them look as if it was made for an older cinema per se, or a movie poster that may have sat out during the 50s. So what I'm going to do today is actually I'm going to do a movie poster for V for Vendetta. Now a lot of these have been done, so if you're exhausted on inspiration, definitely check out Google and just see V for Vendetta alternate movie posters. There's a lot of them out there, and there are a lot of really talented people. Now all of the images I used today I did get from Google. They were all fair use, and I just want to say that if you're ever using Google, make sure that you're selecting that Creative Commons option from the search tool. So first things first is I created a document that was 11 by 17 inches, and I have a bleed of half an inch on every side. What this bleed does is it puts this little box around the outside. That allows me to send my colors and everything working on that outer edge, so that I can just make sure that if I want to color on the whole object, it goes all the way to the border, that there's no white space between the edge and the color that I put on. So created that 11 by 17 inches with a bleed of 0.5 all the way around. And first things first is I went online and got this photo of V in his cloak. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to kind of get rid of some of the busyness and make this a very simple object. So I'm going to go ahead and take my pen tool over on the left hand side, and I'm actually just going to trace this object. And what I want to do is I kind of want to keep, let me just turn that off real quick. If you get that whiteness if it starts filling in, you can always just select this option right here to get rid of that. I want to keep the edges kind of chunky or blocky, so I'm going to hastily go around this portion of it. And then the only portion that I really care about is the hat. So I'm going to go ahead and convert these anchor points. Pulling that back in. Go up here and then draw over this one, and you can try and get the hat correct there. If it doesn't look like it's correct, actually I think I got it that time around. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill that in with a black layer. For some reason that went to white even though I was selecting black. There we go. I'm just going to put that off to the side for now. So I'm going to go ahead and do the hat then. Just follow these lines around, and this line's going to get a little bit wonky. So what I'm going to do is hit Control or Shift and click the dot that I'm on, and it's actually going to stop that from bringing the curve way out around the hat, and it'll just allow me to draw that straight line to the top. And I will do that again for this corner as well. There we go. Cool. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Move that off to the side for now. And then I'm going to do one last layer or outline of his face. So you can see I'm drawing a little bit more carefully on this one. I want to make sure that I get all of his goatee in here. And I want to get the shape of his face pretty well too. Doesn't have to be perfect, but that looks pretty good. So I'm going to get rid of that layer right now. And then what you see is I have this outline of the face and the image, but I just want the face, so I'm going to click on the outline that I made, shift click on the background to select both of them, And then if you right click, you can select make clipping mask. Now it just cuts out the face, which is exactly what we want. And next, to get that face to the correct style, you can trace along the lines here, following the lines all around. That does take a little while, so I'm just going to go ahead and switch over to one that I did previously. So this is the same thing here. This is the trace of the one that I did. So if you see, when I put it back on his head, it looks pretty darn good. Now what I want to do is I just want to take all of this and bring it into my new project. So I'm going to shift or drag over all of the items, or you can hit Control A, Command A on a Mac to select all of them, and then you're going to copy them and paste it into here. And I'm going to make him a little bit smaller in the corner here, and I will show you why in just a moment. Alright, so first things first, I kind of want to just get a little bit of color in here so that I can start to get my own idea of what I'm doing. And I want to just drag a rectangle that I made over the entire bleed area, and then I'm going to make that red. And the red that I'm using specifically for this photo, or this project, is 255 red, green 29, blue 37. You know, for your own application you may change that, but if you're following along on this one, you can do that way. Next, I'm going to want to move that to the back, so I can right click, select arrange, and hit send to back. And now he's far behind my little V here. But the problem is that I'm more likely than not going to click on this at some point. So if you click on it and select Control 2 or Command 2 on a Mac, it locks it. And now I can't click it, which is really nice because it just stops you from moving it around or accidentally selecting it when you're trying to just select certain points. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to create a shadow for V by clicking his hat and his body that I made earlier with the Shift key, Command copy, Command paste, or Control copy, Control paste, Control C, Control V. And now this is on top of him, but what I want to do is I just want to get the shadow angle down before I worry about making him more visible. So I'm going to use the transform tool and use shear to make this kind of lean off towards the distance as if it's a shadow. And I'm going to set that to, let's see, 25. What does 25 look like? Yeah, let's do 25. So if you look at 25, it gives it this nice angle off into the background, but it's still above him. So let's change the color for now. It's a little too light. Yeah, that looks good. And then let's push that back. So you can hit Command and then the bracket key that points to the right, or you can hit Control and the bracket key that points to the right until that falls behind V. So now I have this here. Actually, apologies. Before you do that, before you do the skew, I want to bring in another element which I am incorporating. So you can hit Control V to get back, or Command V in Illustrator. So I'm going to incorporate this clock that I've got off the internet. It's actually already a vector image, which is really nice. You know, you can draw this out for sure. That's no problem. But what I like about it is that the hands are in a shape of the V, mimicking that color, and it points to approximately 11:05. If I really wanted to, I could go in, cut this piece out, and actually just turn it a little bit. But I'm not going to do that for this tutorial because that takes a while. So I'm just going to copy that whole thing, paste it onto my image, and I definitely have to shrink this down quite a bit. That's right. Let's get that in there, and then I want to make it so that it fits the face of this. So it's not going to necessarily be the correct proportions proper proportions, but it's going to fit this face. I want that same width of the rim pretty much the whole way around. And once I have accomplished that to the best of my ability, I'm going to select everything here, and I'm going to now do the shear. So let's set that to 25 again and see what that looks like. I think that was better. Yeah, 25. So we'll set that to 25. Let's move it back. And let's change the color on these so that we don't mix them up with B real quick. Cool. Okay, that one has a outline, so we're going to get rid of that. So now I have this back drop off of V, signifying kind of Big Ben. If you haven't seen the movie, spoiler alert, he blows that up at one point in the movie. And so I kind of wanted to have this nice contrast between him, his shadow that's looming over him, but you know, is kind of the shadow of his accomplishments. You can get way into it, but for now, just follow along, I guess. So next thing I want to do is, this is looking nice, but I want to give it a little bit of texture. So another thing that I got off the internet was, let's see if I can find it, this texture here. And this is just a JPEG. We want to rotate it up firsthand, and then we're going to copy that and paste it over our image. And we just want to make that the size of our whole image. Great, so that looks pretty good. Now when we go to the transparency option over here, if you don't see that, you'll want to go up to Window, Transparency. You want to select Overlay, pardon me, Multiply. And what you see is it gives you this nice texture to the paper. But I don't necessarily want it to be that clear, so I'm just going to bring the opacity up a little bit to 80%. Now it looks a little bit more realistic. But what's really cool about it is that it brings these folds right through the colors. So if you're paying attention, you can see that this almost looks on the paper like it's folding. So that's pretty cool. So next thing, I wanted to add a little bit more texture, give it a little bit of grittiness. So I grabbed another texture off of the internet. And this is a vector texture. So the nice thing about this is that you can put this onto your image, and you can manipulate this, change it, stretch it, and it will always stay correct. It won't kind of distort and get pixely like a rasterized image will. So I have that over the top of everything, and I'm going to just stretch it to the size of the image and change the transparency to color. And then if you look here, once I click off that, gives us this kind of cool, almost like splatter effect, but it is a little rich. So I'm going to just bring the opacity down to about 60. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah, maybe even more. Alright, 20. That looks good to me. So now it looks kind of like a little bit of staining on the paper. You know, it's going to stain the colors that are easier to see, not so much in this area. So one thing that's really important is you got to lock this layer again, just because it can get in the way very easily. You can always unlock these layers at any time if you want to change anything. You just want to go up to Objects and then Unlock All, or you can hit Alt-Control 2. So now you see this is locked up. There's nothing that's oh, actually it didn't lock for some reason. Let's try that one more time. Alright, cool. Okay, so we got it that time. So now what we want to do, actually want to bring this down a little bit. I'm going to bring this clock face down just because it was a little too bright for my liking. What we want to do is, because this is a shadow, it wouldn't have necessarily these super crisp lines. So I'm just going to add a little bit of stylization to that by adding a stroke and then changing the stroke type to charcoal pencil. Let's see if we can't. It's a little too much. That looks pretty good to me. Alright. And then one more thing that I wanted to do stylistically is I wanted to put just a little bit of splatter behind this clock, kind of to emphasize the part of the explosion, but also, spoiler alert again, the fact that V dies in the movie, so it's kind of a cool tribute to that. So I'm going to go ahead and get this splatter drip vector that I got from Fudge Graphics. I'm going to paste it into my image, and I'm going to put it right pretty much behind the Big Ben, or in front of it for now, and I'm going to transform it and shear it that 25 degrees to match the way that the direction that this Big Ben is going. So once you've done that, you can move that back to behind that, and you want to keep it above the background for now. And let's change the color on this to white, and then let's change the transparency to color as well. And what we can do is we can kind of play with where this is leading, you know, how far off the screen it's gonna go. I kind of like it shooting off a little bit. It gives it that motion effect that it's kind of blasting through the shadow, and I quite like that. Alright, so everything's looking pretty good now. Let's see. Just trying to see if there's anything else that we need for this. So, yep, that looks pretty good for now. Actually, oh, one more thing that we can do, gives it kind of a nice effect, is if you use the square tool or rectangle tool and just click in the top left-hand corner, make the width 11, height 17 for our specific photo because it's 11 by 17 paper. You just want this to sit right on the ring of the paper, and if you go ahead and change the inside color to nothing, change the outside color to white, and then you put that up to about, let's say 25, and then make sure that you're still lined up. Mine went off for some reason, so I'm just going to pull that back. Okay, that looks good. And then I'm going to actually push that down behind the texture pattern layer so that we can get that texture riding over everything. Nice. Okay, and it looks like we have a little bit of an issue with V being off the edge, so I'm going to just pull him up a bit and in, and then I'm going to take the bottom of his shadow and pull that in as well. So now you can see. All right. So that looks pretty good to me. Everything seems to be there. So next I'm going to go ahead and add some text. So this is a font that I got from online. I'm just going to type in V for Vendetta. And this is a pretty famous font that they used, or have used quite a lot. It's called True Crimes. Oops. You can get this from DaFont, which is free. I'm just going to boost that up to 40 for now, or 50. Cool. Alright, so then I'm going to create outlines from this. Ungroup these. and then regroup these specific ones so that Vendetta stays together. Group V or 4 so that that stays together, and then V can stay where it is for now. So what I want to do actually is I want to shear all of these the same way. So I'm going to highlight all of them, right click, arrange or transform, and shear, and do that same 25 degrees. We just want everything to lie on this axis so that when we put it together it looks natural. And I'm going to make this V a lot bigger here. And then I want it to line up centered as I can. It's not exactly easy because the tower I don't think is perfect either. Alright, so I'm going to just go with that for now. It's a little bit rushed, but just for the sake of this tutorial I don't want to take it too long. And then I'm actually going to change these colors so I can highlight all those words that I made, and then I can change the color of those. And I can't forget to send those down. I just want them right above the tower, but then it still has this texture. It has the paper creases, has a little bit of the splatter effect. And so, yeah, that's pretty much it. Once you're done, you go save for web, and then the finished product will look like this. It's pretty cool. Yeah, so it's just an alternate movie poster, kind of with a vintage effect to it, that you can do pretty easily. You can do this with a lot of different types of movies. The biggest thing is you want to have some sort of object, item, key plot, or character that is truly iconic to the film. And then you just want to think abstractly, and you want to try and find something like this, his shadow being Big Ben, that works really well. And then make sure that you're using textures and kind of paper overlays, or multiply in our sense, to give it that real postery feel. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. I will include as many links to the textures and photos that I used in the description below. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.